Born of the tumultuous union between El, the supreme god, and the goddess Asherah, Baal embodies the raw power of the storm and the fertility of the earth. His ascent of prominence sparks jealousy among the gods, particularly his rival, the sea god Yam, and the chaos god Lotan. The tales of Baal's exploits are legendary. He battles ferocious beasts, commands the forces of nature, and even descends into the underworld, challenging the very forces of death itself. But it is his defiance against the cosmic order that defines him. Despite the machinations of his adversaries and the fickleness of fate, Baal stands resolute, a beacon of strength and determination. Yet amidst his triumphs, he grapples with his own vulnerabilities. His tumultuous relationship with Anat, the warrior goddess, mirrors the complexities of mortal love and desire. And in his moments of doubt, he seeks guidance from the white goddess Atharat, mother of the gods. Among the most significant religious traditions of the Near East, the Baal Cycle dates back to ancient Canaanite mythology. Baal's narrative intertwines with the broader tapestry of sun worship that spans cultures and epochs. In the ancient Near East, where his myth originated, the veneration of the sun as a symbol of vitality and divine power was pervasive. Baal himself embodies aspects of solar deity, his strength and vitality mirroring the life-giving force of the sun. Across the Mediterranean world, from ancient Egypt to Greece, sun worship took various forms, each reflecting local beliefs and traditions. In Egypt, Ra reigned supreme, symbolizing creation and renewal. In Greece, Apollo, the radiant god of light and prophecy, held sway over the hearts of mortals. Yet despite the diversity of cultural expressions, common themes emerge. The sun, with its daily journey across the sky, becomes a metaphor for the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Solar deities, like Baal, embody this eternal rhythm, their triumphs and tribulations echoing the cosmic dance of light and darkness. Moreover, the cult of the sun often intersected with other aspects of religious belief, shaping rituals, myths, and even political structures. In ancient Mesopotamia, for example, the Babylonian king was seen as the earthly representative of the sun god Shamash, imbuing the monarchy with divine legitimacy. However, delving deeper, there's a dark underbelly to it all. In the epic adventures of Baal, there lies a shadowy narrative of power struggles, divine rivalries, and the eternal conflict between order and chaos. These themes intertwined with Baal's story not only captivate, but also reveal the darker, more primal aspects of human nature. Moreover, their resonance and impact on modern literature and culture are profound, shedding light on the perennial complexities of the human condition. Baal's association with Taurus and the zodiac ties him closely to the agricultural cycle, particularly the renewal of life in spring. His mythological journey from conquering death to subduing the Taurus bull reflects humanity's reverence for the sun as the source of vitality and sustenance. His story serves as a powerful metaphor for the eternal cycle of growth, decay, and renewal, mirroring the seasonal changes that governed ancient agricultural societies. Here's the darker aspect. Offerings to the sun gods included sacrifices, sometimes human lives, as desperate attempts to ensure favorable conditions for crops and prosperity. By examining the Baal cycle, we can gain insights into the history, symbolism, and influence of Canaanite mythology on modern society. They emerged as a distinct cultural group in the Levant during the 14th century BCE, contributing to the birth of the Baal cycle. Throughout the epic poems, we can see the different aspects of Baal's character, such as his heroic deeds and his relationship with the gods, which have become an integral part of mythology and literature. As I said, it's been used as a source of inspiration for many modern works of art, literature, and film, further demonstrating its impact on our culture. The cycle consists of poems in Ugaritic, an ancient language written in cuneiform in the city of Ugarit, northeast of modern-day Syria. Ancient Near Eastern literature and culture were transformed by the discovery of the poems by French and Syrian archaeologists in the 20s and 30s. Cuneiform, first developed by the ancient Sumerians of Mesopotamia in around 3500 BC, considered the oldest form of writing still in use today. As the Canaanite god of rain, fertility, and warfare, Baal is the protagonist of the Baal Cycle, and the story themes of love, betrayal, and redemption are intricately woven throughout a story full of power struggles, alliances, and battles. It introduces to us a number of otherworldly characters, including El, the father of all gods, Anat, the goddess of death, and Mat, the god of rebirth. The mythology of the ancient Near East depicted Baal as part of a pantheon of gods, each with its own attributes and roles. Various cultures and times associated different gods with Baal. I'll give you a quick look at a few gods who were associated. A lot of Canaanite and Phoenician mythologies made El the supreme god, often depicted as Baal's father and pantheon's head. He was the father of the gods. El was the most important god in the Canaanite and Phoenician pantheon. He was seen as the creator of all things and was believed to preside over fertility, weather, and the harvest. He was also viewed as the protector of humanity and the source of justice and wisdom. The goddess Anat was connected to war, fertility, and hunting. Often she was portrayed as Baal's sister and consort. She helped Baal fight different enemies in the Baal Cycle, where she was an important part of the story. Anat was seen as a powerful and strong goddess who could protect and support her brother. Also seen as a fertility goddess, as she was associated with the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Connected to hunting, often depicted with a bow and arrow. The goddess Asherah represents fertility, nurturing, and the earth. She was the divine mother figure in El's consort. Asherah was a fertility goddess, so she was often associated with agriculture and nature. Also seen as a protector of women and children, she was a symbol of motherhood and nurturing. Her relationship with El and Baal highlighted her importance in the divine community, as she was the matriarch of the gods. A god of death in the underworld, Mat. He fought fiercely against Baal during the Baal Cycle and was a powerful opponent of the god. Mat was seen as a dark force that threatened the safety of the gods, and his battles with Baal were seen as a metaphor for the struggle between good and evil. In some myths, Mat is seen as the embodiment of chaos and destruction, while Baal is seen as the protector of good and order. Often viewed as a force of evil that must be fought and defeated in order for the gods to maintain their power and control. He is the antithesis of Baal, and El is seen as the bringer of death and the destroyer of life. There was a sea god named Yam in Canaanite mythology who was a rival of Baal. He's the chaotic, destructive force of the sea. Stories about Baal's struggle with Yam were common. In these stories, Yam is often an adversary who fought with him in order to prove his power and strength. As he was associated with chaos and destruction, seen as a force of nature that needed to be controlled by the gods. As the story begins, Baal and Yam, the god of the sea, challenge each other for dominion over the earth. Yam is described as a massive, serpent-like creature that is capable of swallowing entire armies. As a result of the competition, Baal wins, establishing his dominion over nature. Baal gradually rises to power in the pantheon of the Canaanite gods, becoming the central figure of the religion, ultimately challenging Mat, the god of death, and emerging victorious. This victory gives Baal the power to control the cycle of life and death, and to bring fertility and abundance to the land. The story serves as a metaphor for the triumph of life over death, of order over chaos, and of civilization over nature. This story is strikingly similar to the story of Christianity, in which Jesus Christ is seen as the victor over death and the bringer of life and abundance. Jesus is seen as the one who brings order to chaos and civilization to the world. Keep that in the back of your mind. There are many interpretations of the Baal Cycle, for instance. Some see the cycle as a representation of the struggle between good and evil, with Baal being a symbol of light and hope in the face of darkness and chaos. Then there are those who interpret it as a metaphor for the changing seasons. For example, the death and rebirth of Baal is seen as a metaphor for the cycle of the agricultural year, with the death of the crops in winter and the rebirth of land in spring. Or it could be interpreted as an allegory for the inner spiritual journey of an individual. Baal's struggles and triumphs against various adversaries may represent the obstacles and challenges one encounters along the way to spiritual enlightenment. Battles and trials represent different aspects of the human psyche or spiritual forces that must be overcome, and can be interpreted as symbolic representations. In light of this, a Gnostic interpretation of Baal could be Baal is a symbol of archonic or demiurgical forces associated with the material world. In contrast to the limitations and constraints of the material realm and the archonic or demiurgic powers that govern it, Baal's struggles and triumphs could symbolize the struggles of the divine spark, the spiritual essence within individuals. Across diverse cultures and mythologies, a common thread emerges in the form of stories that echo the cyclical rhythms of the solar cycle and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. From the ancient Near East, where Baal's mythological journey embodies the seasonal changes and agricultural cycles governed by the sun, to the mythology of ancient Egypt, where the god Osiris' death and resurrection symbolize the annual flooding of the Nile and the subsequent fertility of the land, parallels abound. Likewise, in Greek mythology, the tale of Persephone's descent into the underworld and her subsequent return mirrors the cycles of the seasons, with her mother Demeter representing the earth's fertility. Even in Norse mythology, the story of Baldur's death and eventual return from the underworld reflects the changing seasons and the promise of renewal. In exploring the connections between Jesus Christ and solar symbolism, we find profound parallels. Jesus, called the Son of God, embodies qualities associated with the sun: light, life, and spiritual illumination. His birth coinciding with the winter solstice and his resurrection with the spring equinox suggest a symbolic alignment with the sun's seasonal journey. However, this raises the question: does our reverence for Jesus as the light of the world inadvertently blur the line between spiritual truth and ancient sun worship? Similarly, the motif of sacrifice, present in both Jesus' crucifixion and the rituals of the sun gods like Baal, as well as other deities such as Huitzilopochtli, Ra, Inti, and Amaterasu, underscore the universal human quest for divine connection and redemption across diverse cultures and mythologies. I think what people may fail to realize is that whether true or not, the concept of a demiurge, a creator deity responsible for the material realm of duality, is deeply ingrained in many religious and philosophical traditions. While some perceive this demiurge as a jealous god who demands sacrifice and obedience, there's another side to consider. In some interpretations, the demiurge serves a necessary function in the cosmic order, facilitating the experience of duality and providing the catalyst for spiritual growth and evolution. This perspective invites us to reconsider our understanding of divine creation and the role of perceived limitations in the human journey towards enlightenment. Jesus' questioning on the cross is poignantly expressed in his cry, my God, why have you forsaken me?" This moment encapsulates a profound theological inquiry, reflecting Jesus' human experience of suffering and doubt in the face of divine silence. A moment of existential anguish, where Jesus, as the embodiment of the true Father of life and light, grapples with the apparent absence of divine presence and intervention. This poignant expression of doubt amidst suffering underscores the depths of Jesus' humanity and the complexity of his divine mission. As for the supposed return of Jesus, beliefs vary widely among Christian denominations and eschatological interpretations. Some anticipate a literal return of Jesus in the flesh, fulfilling prophecies of a second coming, while others envision a symbolic or spiritual return, heralding a new era of divine revelation and redemption. Additionally, notions of reincarnation or the emergence of a new Messiah are contemplated by some theological perspectives, each offering unique insights into the nature of divine intervention in human history. Central to many of these beliefs is the notion of divine judgment and the revelation of God's ultimate plan for humanity. In this narrative, the return of Jesus or the emergence of a chosen figure signals a time of reckoning, where the deeds of the individuals and nations are weighed against divine standards of justice and righteousness. Adding a layer of complexity to these interpretations is the notion of genetics, lineage, and bloodline, often intertwined with these eschatological themes. Some traditions speculate about a divine seed or lineage, tracing back to biblical figures such as David or Abraham, which plays a role in the unfolding of God's plan for salvation and redemption. This genetic aspect can symbolize continuity and inheritance within the divine covenant, linking past, present, and future generations in a sacred narrative of faith and destiny. Ultimately, beliefs about the return of Jesus and the fulfillment of divine prophecy reflect the diversity of human religious experience and interpretation. While theological debates persist, the overarching hope is for the revelation of God's ultimate plan and the establishment of justice, peace, and harmony in the world. Humanfluence, out.